This isn't a normal spec set. Hytale has dropped its official hardware requirements and it can run on a potato unless you have a PC that you brought from the Flintstones. Hey guys, it's Kim King here and welcome back to the channel, and today we're gonna look at the hardware requirement blog post as well as the FAQ blog post that literally just got released. So let's jump straight into it. We can see that the minimum requirements target 1080p at 30 fps. The CPU required is an Intel Core i5-7500 or equal, or an AMD Ryzen 3 1200 or its equivalent. That is a CPU from 2017, and the GPU minimum is even older, an NVIDIA GTX 900 series, AMD Radeon 400 series, or Intel Arc A series or equivalent. Yes, a decade-old card will run this game, but here is the first major catch that will trip up everyone running a cheap laptop: RAM. Notice the requirement is split: 8 gigs of VRAM if you have a dedicated GPU, but if you don't have the dedicated GPU, then you will need at least 12 gigs of RAM. Why the extra 4 gigs? Because an integrated GPU like Intel USD Graphics uses your system RAM for its own needs. The developers are essentially saying, hey, your single player world is a massive resource hog, and if your graphics card is fighting your server simulation for memory, you're going to crash. This tells us Hytale is a RAM hungry beast, especially if you are using budget hardware or a lower end hardware. So if you're on a laptop with 8 GB and an integrated GPU, you need to be prepared for a sub 30 fps experience. Now let's look at the recommended spec: 1080p at 60 fps. We're looking at an i5-10400 or a Ryzen 5 3600 and a full 16 gigs of RAM. Still extremely reasonable, but here is the most valuable piece of information from the entire post. Your GPU barely matters once you hit the minimum. In the technical notes section, the Hytale team confirms that as a voxel sandbox game, Hytale is more about CPU performance and RAM than raw graphics power. Your CPU handles the entire world simulation, all the NPCs, the world generation, and the voxel physics. They state, after that, focus on a solid multi-core CPU and enough RAM rather than a top-end GPU. This changes everything. Don't spend $1,000 on a RTX 40 series if you're running say a 6-year-old Ryzen 3. Your money is better spent upgrading that CPU and moving to 16 or even 32 gigs of fast RAM. The bottleneck is the simulation with all the physics engine and mob AIs and things of that nature, not the rendering itself. They also state that the issue is when you double the view distance, say going from 192 blocks to the recommended 384 blocks, you quadruple the amount of world around you that needs to be loaded, simulated, and rendered, and because of that, it causes your FPS to drop. But comparing and looking at the actual screenshots, I think the 384 block render distance looks more than good enough, and even with an 192 blocks render distance, it's very good. Especially if you notice the ambient fog happening in the background, it gives the illusion that the area is loaded even though it's not. This was the hardware blog post. Now let's move on to the FAQs, where Patrick gives us more information about the game. Simon had mentioned this before in a tweet, but Patrick confirms it. For the first 2 years, Hytale is taking 0% from any third-party servers or modders who wants to monetize their work. 0%, guys. This means every dollar goes straight to the creators who are building the community. Will Hytale be on Steam? They are not gonna launch on Steam initially. They explicitly state that they want the first steps of early access to be influenced by the informed and dedicated player base, like us, rather than a flood of cold first impressions from the general public who don't really know much about the history and the development of the game. They want honest, critical feedback, but they want it from people who understand the game's development. It's a strategic move to keep the ship stable during those critical first months. They are focusing on the game first, which also means console and mobile are delayed until later. Monetization is key here. Patrick confirms they will never add pay-to-win options. Cosmetics will be available to support development of the game, but official cosmetics will stay fair and balanced, and they will keep adding free cosmetics over time. And get this, if someone is squatting on a unique username just to sell it later, Hytale will reclaim that name. They are actively combating scalpers and trying to keep the community toxic free right now out of the gate. They're working on regional pricing, they're working on pets and fishing, but the core message is this. The focus is on the game, the modding community comes first, and they are here to break the traditional pay to win mold, which is so refreshing to see, and it is how it should be in the industry. So to wrap up, we learned Hytale is fundamentally a CPU and RAM driven game. You must be careful with the view distance setting if you have a lower end system, and the future of the community is secured with the game changing server side modding and the incredible 0% cut for creators. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on the game not being available on Steam initially. Personally, I think they made the right decision. Hit the like button if you like this video. It helps me out a lot, and I'll catch you in the next one.